Actually had Stuart Broad come up to me the following week at Lord's, day one, and put his arm around me and said, he goes, where'd that shot come from? That's probably up there the best shot that's ever been off my bowling. Yeah, it brought me back down to earth pretty quick, real quick actually. It's probably not just brought me back down to earth, it buried me. Okay, how can I help my team? How can I help my team do something that we haven't done in 22 years? I think it's genius on what he's done. We've done it, tried to do it many times before. Johnny Bairstow tried to do that in the first innings of that game, and you realise the importance of something that when it's taken away from you. Yeah, firstly it's a bit strange being at home when you know your teammates and your team is still over there competing in what you set out to do, but pretty hard pill to swallow at the moment though, with obviously a grade 3 tear in my right calf, which isn't ideal, but yeah, disappointing. Ashes cricket with Bazball and all the hype around it, it's at Edgbaston, where it's meant to be a pretty hostile crowd and the England fortress, and we've been able to break the fortress twice now in the last 2 tours there, and we took a lot of confidence out of 2019 heading into Edgbaston, but I think that test match had it all, to be honest with you. It had the thrill of competing against Bazball, the way they go about it, the positive brand of cricket that they're playing. But then for us to chase down 270 odd in the last innings really shows the resilience, but also the calm nature that Ronnie and Pat have had the influence on our group, and allowed us to go out there and be confident enough to express ourselves and play the brand of cricket that we want to play. And for me to be out in the middle there with Pat at the end there, in a 55-run partnership, that's going to go down as one of the probably highlights of my career. I know I've got a lot of cricket left in me, but I'm expected to do the job with the ball. I'm not expected to do the job with the bat, but I pride myself on my batting. I do a lot of work with my brother, and I want to get better with it, and I feel like the little works. I know I still haven't got a Test match 50 or anything like that, but I wouldn't change it at the moment for being able to play a role in that first Ashes Test match win, and to win a first Test match of a series. It's massive. It's massive. So yeah, it's bloody exciting being at Edgbaston. Yeah, I remember walking out on the ground and doing my little routine and basically trying to pump myself up on the way there with just saying that, come on, just hang in there and make sure that you're at least the last, you're the guy that's not out. Like, take some pride on your wicket here, and you never know. And I got out to the middle there, and I think Michael Nessa and a couple of guys running the drinks ran past me, and they just said, "Good luck, Gaz." And then obviously the whole crowd was yelling out, just a shit mowing alley, and it was quite a loud reception. But Pat just goes, "Mate, we've put on 50-run partnerships before. There's no reason why we can't do it now." And I talk about the calmness that Pat's really brought to our group, and that was on show personally out there in the middle. And he just basically said, "We can do this. There's no reason why we can't do this, but whatever happens, let's just enjoy it." So I've noticed when I play my best cricket, and this takes me back to my debut, is when Mike Hussey actually ran up to me before I bowled my first ball, and he goes, "Whatever you do, just smile. Bowl with a smile on your face and everything will be okay." And those words have stuck with me for my whole career, and I just feel like I'm able to relax and enjoy it if I'm actually smiling, having a laugh with my teammate at the other end, and I feel like I'm able to go back and do naturally. Like, you kind of forget the whole crowd, you forget that you're playing on TV, you forget the noise, and you're just watching the ball and batting in partnerships. So it was actually pretty enjoyable. But one time they got my heart racing was the umpire Murray. You got some similarities to Headingley 2019, and I said, "Murray, what are you bringing that up for? Like, I don't need to be thinking about that right now." And so that I know allowed me to have a little bit of banter and a little bit of laugh with the umpire, but it wasn't great when he told me about that, because it also made me pretty nervous. But no, it was bloody enjoyable to be out in the middle. I wasn't getting much sledging, only from Ben Stokes really. And that wasn't even sledging. He was just trying to convince me to take on the short ball, and I don't need much convincing, to be honest. I'll give it a go, but no, I'll never forget that moment when Pat hit the winning runs. But it's funny, Pat's a smart guy, and the runs were getting counted down on the scoreboard, and we could see him. And Pat kept asking me how many runs left. How many runs left? And I'm like, Pat, I can't count, but it says 15 on the scoreboard, so let's go for 15. And so it was quite. You asked what was being spoke about. There was a lot of banter, a lot of enjoyment as well, which is good. The shot. I've had a lot of people ask me about this. It's funny. We sat down as a team the morning of day 5, and everyone was asking Aussie what tips you got, and he goes, it's actually quite funny. I actually feel like it's easier to drive on this wicket going over the top than along the ground, and I didn't think much of it, and because I usually get in trouble when I start thinking like a batsman, and that's when I start thinking, getting myself out. But I know that was just pure instinct, and I felt like he was going to go full, and I don't know, I just closed my eyes and hoped for the best, I guess. But no, it was pretty remarkable actually. We talk about having banter and having fun. I hit it and I ran down and walked past Pat, and Pat's there with a big smile on his face, and I just put my head down and tapped him on the gloves and said, nice shot, Gary, and just kept walking on. But yeah, it was pretty amazing, and actually had Stuart Broad come up to me the following week at Lord's, day 1, and he put his arm around me and said, guys, where'd that shot come from? That's probably up there the best shot that's ever been off my bowling. So I'm not sure if he was just being really nice to me, or he honestly believes that, but yeah, it's a pretty good shot, to be honest. I'll never forget that moment, and I've since watched the replay quite a few times, and the reaction of your teammates, that's probably the best feeling that you can get, is the shock, the enjoyment on their faces is pretty amazing, and the reception that Pat and I both received when we got back into the change room. They're the memories that I will never forget. An amazing embrace with Pat's dad, but all the teammates, it was bloody special. I know it probably makes it even harder to sit here now and talk about Edgbaston, even Lords, when after blowing my calf and then watching the rest of the Ashes at home, but at being there at Edgbaston, competing against Bazball for the first time, understanding what they were trying to do, and for me it was really about trying to have a really clear plan, and really understand what they were trying to do, and then for me trying to think on my feet quite quickly and trying to get them to hit the ball in different areas where they want to hit it. They want to hit boundaries, I get that, and it was for me to try and block them up. So if you go back and watch that, I actually taken out slip, I've taken out bat patter to a number of guys, and basically taken my ego totally out of the game, and allowed them to play on their ego. And that's probably the biggest thing for me, is to try and remove all the emotion out of the game and try and just play on skill. And that was a big focus for me during this whole test series, was to purely play on skill and not emotion, understanding that my usual going at 2.5 runs and over for my whole career for the last 11 years, that's not going to be the case for this series. Let's focus on the wickets. How many wickets can you beat? Because if you look at it, your figures end up the same, but your overs are just less. So I was going to end up with 4 for 90 or 4 for 140 or whatever it was, but I was going to do it off 17 overs rather than 42 overs or whatever it may be. So for me, it was really about being really clear on my plans, understanding what they were wanting to do, then trying to problem solve as quickly as I can. Joe Root was incredible in the Edgbaston test. I thought his tempo against me, he didn't over attack me, but he still put me under enough pressure by rotating the strike quite easy. So that was a different challenge, especially when the wicket wasn't offering much. But sitting here, I'm proud about the way I went about it with him Bazball. I feel like Bazball is quite a mental challenge for the opposition. I feel like they're trying to make the opposition panic and trying to get the opposition to play their brand of cricket, where a lot of guys aren't suited to play that brand, that positive shots over the top or reverse sweeping or whatever it may be. So I feel like for me, that's my understanding of Bazball, is that they want to make the opposition panic into playing positive brand of cricket or up tempo pace. But saying that, bloody fun to play against. It's bloody fun to play against. So I think the atmosphere that's been created, especially around Edgbaston, even Lords, you look at Lords and the reaction after the stumping, like that, it's probably been up there with the most watched Ashes Test series, and that's me saying it without any knowledge of the numbers behind it, but that's what it felt like as a player. There's basically sold out crowds every day, and the atmosphere was unbelievable.
Leading into the second game, like how were you feeling physically?
Yeah, this is the thing. Physically, I was flying. Felt amazing. We had a 9-day break, so I able to have a couple of days off, and then my preparation was on point. Hasn't changed as skill-wise or anything like that. Felt unbelievable bowling in the nets. I was really pumped about the week at Lords, being the first bowler in Test match cricket history to play 100 consecutive games, and a lot of talk about being resilient and being injury-free and all this stuff, but then to day 2 afternoon to be shot by a sniper, and I heard my calf go. Yeah, it brought me back down to earth real quick actually. It's probably not just brought me back down to earth, it buried me for a little bit there. I was shattered, still am if I'm being honest with you. It's been 2 weeks to today, the injury since when it happened, so it's been hard to watch being at home. It was hard to watch on day 5 at Lords when the guys were trying to bowl out England and restrict them. But yeah, the emotions of being injured, going through the injury, going through the pain, yeah, heartbreaking. Yeah, so this is the first time since I debuted. So I debuted in August 31, 2011. I've been dropped for 4 Test matches through that time, and just got picked at Manchester 2013 in the Ashes, the 3rd Ashes Test, and I haven't missed a game since then. So for me to be at home now, watching Leeds at home, understanding that the guys are going to Manchester now and competing next week, it's strange. It's like a whole schooling life of 12 years or so, 12 to 13 years, and never had a sick day at school. That's what it was like. Like, for me, that's the best way I can explain it. I know it's just part of me. I've been lucky enough to be around this team for so long, experienced the highs and lows of different challenges, and now to be at home and with my first real injury, I'm figuring out that rehab is pretty tough mentally, for me at the start anyway, but I can look at this as an opportunity to get better, freshen up and understand, and you realise the importance of something that when it's taken away from you, and the love I've got for this game and the Australian cricket team is next level, and it seems to be growing, and the hunger for me to get back there now, it's crazy. I actually said to Emma the morning of day 4, I said, if the opportunity comes, I'm going to bat. And she told me I was an idiot and don't be silly and all that stuff. And, but my thinking behind it was purely I played enough Ashes test matches or test series to understand the importance of a 10 to 15 run partnership. And that games can come down to that, and that can be the difference. And I was talking to myself, and I wouldn't be able to live with myself if we potentially lost by 1 wicket and they needed 4 runs, or lost by 4 or 5 runs, knowing that I didn't go out the bat. So I went to the ground in my own head, talking myself through it, walking on crutches, that I'm going to go into bat. So I was building myself up. I spoke to the physio and doctor before I spoke to the coach and captain, and they said, you're an idiot, you're not doing it. Then I went straight to, and Pat at that stage said, Gaz, you're not batting, don't worry about it, you're not batting. And so then I went straight to Andrew McDonald. I said, mate, can I have a chat? And he came and had a chat. Then we sat down on the lounge and I said, mate, I want to bat. And he goes, yeah, I want you to bat too. And for him to say those words, I was like, nah, sweet, sweet. So I said, right, can you come talk to the physio and our doctor, and I'll just do what I have to do. So then I ended up getting, taking some drugs and had strapping from my kneecap down to my toes, and had 3 heel lifts, or heel raises, what they whack in your shoe. So I was wearing high heels in my right shoe, and strapped up. Then I went into the medical room at Lord's, and I'd practice batting in the Lord's. Couldn't walk, couldn't put any pressure on it whatsoever, but I was just adamant to go out there, and the hardest thing was trying to get out to the wicket before I get timed out. So I ended up going down to the long room, standing in the long room, and everyone was just either blown away that I was going out to bat, whether I was thinking I was stupid or idiotic or whatever it may be. But I looked at it as an opportunity to go out there and help our team and a teammate at that stage to build our partnership and build our lead. So would I do it again? Yes. My mindset was simply to try and just watch the ball. Because I was on my front foot and I had no weight on the back foot, I couldn't move. So I knew I had to watch the ball. And funny you say that, like that's what you should do in cricket, but a lot of guys, and especially tail enders, they take the eyes off the ball, and that's when you get hurt and hit in places, like the head and body and etc. And I just remember walking out the bat and Starkey goes, you're an idiot, what are you doing? I said, mate, I hit him in the glove and said, we'll get 10 runs. That's all I'm here to do. I'm not here to get 100. I said, we'll get 10 runs. Let's just try and do that. I said, I can't run between wickets. I'll try and keep the ball out. And if the ball's out, I'll try and hit it at the boundary, but you try and hit it at the boundary. And just wait for your ball. We don't need to do it straight away. So my mindset heading out there was nervous, because I was like, shit, this is real. Then Joe Root actually said to me, he goes, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're going to hurt yourself. Don't seriously hurt yourself anymore. But in my head, I was like, my calf strain is bad. I know I'm out for the rest of the series, even with the doctor not confirming that. I had a scan 2 nights ago, and I know the damage. So I know I'm actually not going to do any worse to it. If it was a minor tear, it would have been harder to go out there, because I could have potentially done a lot more work, a lot more damage, and potentially ruled myself out of the Test series, full stop. But I knew I was already out. So I felt like, okay, how can I help my team? How can I help my team do something that we haven't done in 22 years? And that was my job, was to go there and get 10 to 15 runs. And lucky enough, we were able to do that. And it's pretty amazing when you sit back and now when you're able to reflect on it, and you got your family in the crowd, and they may have been in tears seeing me go out there, but the reaction from the crowd and the respect that the England crowd have shown me, I'm extremely grateful for, and something that another thing I'll never forget about this Ashes series is that yes, I got injured and I was gutted and disappointed, but the respect from the English and Australian crowds were evident, and something that I'm very grateful for. What are my takes on it? By law, one is not out and one is out. And the correct decisions were made. Simply my opinion is that Mitchell Starc caught that ball above his knees. He's 6 foot tall. He had full control of the ball, and the pure thing, if he keeps diving down like that and lands on his wrist, he breaks his wrist, in my opinion, because of the weight of his upper body going down and the force on it. So that's just a natural thing to put your hands down to protect yourself. In my eyes, he had full control on it. So I kind of feel like that's out every day of the week. And it's out in grade cricket, it's out in state cricket, county cricket, whatever it may be. The slow-mo cameras aren't my favourite thing in international cricket, but at the end of the day, it's the written rule. And Alex Carey, hats off to him. I think it's genius on what he's done. We've tried to do it many times before. We've had success about it. We've missed out on opportunities. Johnny Bairstow tried to do that in the first innings of that game. So where does it lie in the spirit of the cricket? I think it's genius by Alex Carey, so hats off to him. And it's only the English crowd who's saying it's not in the spirit of the cricket, but they've got short memories when Stuart Broad nicked it the first slip off Ashton Agar in 2013. I'd say that's more not in the spirit of the game, when you know you're out and you don't walk, and when it's blatantly obvious. So I think the spirit of cricket, things are fine line. We're professional athletes, we're competitive. As soon as we go over the line, we're trying to get someone out. If you give us an opportunity, we're going to take it, and that's my view on it. The way the Australian cricket team, my teammates, got treated walking back into the change room, through the long room, all the way up the stairs, getting absolutely abused, is, yeah, appalling is the right word. I've never seen anything like it, and you don't expect it at Lords. Normally they clap you whether you get duck or 100 or whatever, and they show an extreme amount of respect. But it was appalling, absolutely appalling. And for me to witness a few of my teammates get absolutely abused, it was, mind-blowing. I had stood there on my crutches going up to lunch and stopped and had a conversation with an older gentleman just to try to understand where he's coming from, but I wanted to understand what he's coming from, and he continued to abuse me, but then after lunch he came and apologised to me. And so it's quite interesting. Obviously we talk about playing on skill and not emotion. They were watching purely on emotion, which what fans do. And I've since had a lovely old lady come up to me, and she was in tears out the back, because talking about day 5, I couldn't watch. I was walking up and down on my crutches out the back, walking around into the subs, the 12th man's sitting area at Lords, and walked back, went and sat down, put the TV on, watched the F1. I just couldn't watch Ben Stokes do what he did. And anyway, this lady stopped me and she was in tears, and she goes, "I've got to go home because I'm so embarrassed to be an English supporter and the way you guys have been treated." And I thought that was really, really strong from an English lady who loves the game of cricket, and for her to be leaving what is an incredible test match and a test series just because she was so embarrassed by some people and how they were speaking to some players, really showed the level of disgusting abuse that was being hauled our way. The thing was, it didn't affect any of our guys, which was a really positive sign that they saw the funny side of it and the lighter side of it. But spirit of cricket, for me, we're professional athletes, we're competitive, and for me, the spirit of cricket is not abusing each other. Yeah, have banter all you like. If you get an opportunity, take it, but that's my point of view.